the front. My name is Justin Hooper. I usually help with Midpoint, but I'm covering for Ryan. So why don't you guys come on up and let's get started here. I was lost with a broken heart. You picked me up, now I'm set apart. From the ash I'm born again, forever safe in the Savior's hands. You are more than my words can say. I'll follow you, Lord, for all my days. Fix my eyes, follow in your ways. Forever free in unending grace. 'Cause you are you're my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Oh, oh. Alright, in the midst of the darkest night, let your love be the shining light, breaking chains that were holding me. You sent your son down to set me free. Everything of this world will fade. I'm pressing on till I see your face, and I believe that your will be done. And I won't stop till your kingdom come. 'Cause you are you're my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Let's get some jumping. Here we go. All right, bringing it down. You are my freedom. We lift you higher. Yeah, say, oh. You're my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. One more time, you're alive. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh.
All right, Midpoint. We're going to be singing a new song, and it has some hand movements. So I hope you'll join Justin and I because they're a lot of fun.
All right, let's get the clap going on this one. There we go.
You have brought me to the water where my past can be swept away in the current of your mercy, and I know I'll never be the same. There's no limit to your promise. Jesus, you have done it all for me. Jesus, you have done it all for me.
Here we go, hands up. Grace comes alive, a wave crashing over me. Grace comes alive. wash over me, wash over me. Forgiveness in the water, with a love that flows so deep. Wash over me, wash over me. Salvation in the water, with a love that flows so deep. Wash over me, wash over me. All right, one more time, hands in the air, here we go. Grace comes alive, a wave crashing over me. Grace comes alive, a wave crashing over and over and over. Grace comes alive, a wave crashing over me. Grace comes alive, a wave crashing over and over and over.
Crashing over and over and over.
All right, let's sing it out. There's healing in the water. There's healing in the water, with a love that flows so deep. Wash over me, wash over me. Forgiveness in the water, with a love that flows so deep. Wash over me, wash over me. Salvation in the water, with a love that flows so deep. Wash over me, wash over me. All right, thanks for singing that one with us, guys. Great worshiping with you this morning. Now, before we have Matt come and keep our reality series going, I have a quick question for you guys. By a show of hands, how many of you guys have ever gotten a little frustrated with your families? Just once, twice, maybe 3 times. Okay, that's what I thought. So we're going to be talking about how sometimes our families can be a little frustrating. But with that, no matter what's going on with our families, we know we have a good Father. Amen? All right, so why don't you guys sing this with us? And I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. Sing it out, you're a good Father. You're a good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. One more time, you're perfect. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of undeniable light. I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable. I can hardly think as you pull me deeper still, as you pull me deeper still, as you pull me deeper still into love, love, love. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Dear Lord, I just thank you so much for every single person in this room, that you would just pour out your love and your mercy and your peace on every single one of them, that you would just open up all of our hearts to come to your altar as broken people and to be receptive to Matt's message today, that you would just bless us and walk with us and be with us always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hello, good morning, everybody. How are you? You good? Okay, so first of all, thank you, Justin, who came and led worship for us today. He is the High Point worship leader, but he's here today because the Midpoint worship leader, Ryan, unfortunately is out of town because his grandmother passed away. And so I want us to pray for him right now. In fact, I would love to get a student volunteer to pray. Yeah, will you come on up? Come up here. I want her, will you pray for him? And in fact, come on up. Just come on. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. In fact, what I would love to do is, as she prays for him, I want to send him this message, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to film her praying, and then whenever you say amen, I'm just going to turn the camera to the crowd, to you guys, and I just want y'all to say, "We love you, Ryan," okay? Can you do that? And then hopefully we'll send our love to him, and, you know, I know that he told me that, you know, sometimes our grandparents, we don't have a very close relationship with him, but he said that with his grandmother he did, you know, so I know he's hurting right now, and we do want to pray for him. So are you ready for this? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Dear God, we pray that you would just be with Ryan and his family through today and through the rest of the week, and that you would ask him, and that you would help him to celebrate his grandmother's life and not to be sad. In your name, amen.
All right, that was great. That was great. Good job. You can have a seat. That was great. You know, I think he's gonna. When you see him next week, go up and talk to him and ask him how he's doing. This is what we'd like to do as a community, Today I'm going to, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to do this analogy that is going to be around Jenga. And so what I need some people who love Jenga and they're like experts at it and you think you're amazing at it. I need 2 volunteers to help me with Jenga. Okay, will you be one of them? And is there another 8th grader? Yeah, come on up. All right, come on up. Yeah, come up on stage. I need one of you to stay on this side and one of you to stand on that side. And first of all, just start the block. I have like huge Jenga blocks. I need you to just go ahead and start building it. All right, start building it. And while they're building it, I want to tell you that we're in the 2nd week of this series called Reality Show. And it's it is about family. And the truth is there's so many reality shows out there that follow families around. And if we had cameras in our own houses, that would get kind of crazy as well. We'd probably be millionaires because there's so much drama in our families. The deal is that in our families and in these reality shows, there's always one person that's like the troublemaker, right? The person that is like bringing all the drama and everything on all these reality TV shows. They show up and it's kind of frustrating for a lot of people. People get frustrated at these people. Okay, let's stop right there. That's perfect. You don't have to build it anymore. I want you to imagine these people, right? These people that are on these reality TV shows, they're kind of crazy, and there's always sort of a crazy troublemaker one. And the truth is that even in these reality shows, we recognize that we have some crazy people in our own families, right, that are troublemakers and are frustrating. Maybe you have like crazy cousin Eddie, that is just nuts every single time. Or you have a pesky brother or sister that just annoys you all the time and makes you frustrated, and you start to argue with them. And here's what happens, okay? What I think happens is that the fights that we have with our families and the frustration that happens, the arguments that happen, it's kind of like playing Jenga. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead. Who wants to start first? Okay, you start first. All right, they're going to start playing Jenga. And if you don't know much about Jenga, essentially what's happening is they're trying to find the certain blocks that are a little bit loose, that are kind of easy to go after, and they push one through, and then they pull it, and then they stack it on top of the next one, okay? And essentially, when you're fighting with your family members, it's kind of similar, all right? Because you're taking cheap shots at each other, right? You're arguing with each other, you're taking cheap shots, and you just kind of go, and then it keeps stacking on top of each other, right? Because what happens is one person gives one comment, and then you're like, oh yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, but what about that? Oh yeah, but what about this? Right? And it just keeps building and building and building until what happens? It falls, that's right. The end of Jenga ends when someone finally puts something on top that makes the whole thing come crashing down. And the same thing happens with your family, right? When you're arguing with your brother or sister or mom or dad, you just start arguing and arguing and arguing, and it gets to this pinnacle where it comes crashing down. Someone runs off crying, slams the door, and it gets heated and crazy, right? It's similar. Oh, be careful, dude. Be careful. Oh my gosh. All right, let's stop right there. Why don't you guys go and have a seat and be very careful. All right, yeah. Good job. You can give it up for them. Good job. So if they were to keep playing and wiggle this even just a little bit probably, the whole thing would go crashing down. And so today, the question today is, how do we change this? How do we fix our family, right? Because many of them need fixing. Right? How do we stop our families from frustrating us so much? How do we change them? What do we actually do? The good news is I have the answer for you. All right, I've got the answer for you. And so stay tuned. It's going to be great. Now, the first people I want to talk to, though, and the first people I want to give an answer to are any of you that are sitting in the crowd that would call yourselves Christians. All right, if you've ever dedicated your life to Jesus and surrendered your entire life to him and said, Jesus, I want to follow you with all of my heart, okay, then you are a Christian, and I want to talk specifically to you first. If you're not a Christian or you're kind of new to this church thing or this Jesus thing, that's okay. Sit tight because I've got something for you in just a little bit. Now, those of you that are Christians, we're going to read in the book of Colossians. This guy Paul wrote to the Colossians, and he wrote specifically to Christians. And as he's writing to them, he's recognizing the fact that, not all Christians, they're not perfect right after they give their life to Christ, right? They start making some mistakes. And so he starts pointing that out to them and is trying to give them some encouragement. In Colossians chapter 3, verses 7 through 9, it says this. It says, "You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived. But now you must also rid yourself of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices." All right, what Paul is saying to these people, and what I want you to hear today, if you're a Christian and you're a Christ follower, is that you need to rid yourself of all of these things. Right? Stop being so angry with people and rageful and slander and malice and filthy language. And guess what this means? This also means with your brothers and sisters. Right? This means stop being so angry with them. Stop being so rageful with them. Stop using filthy language around them. Right? I know it's a weird thing to think about. And you're like, oh my gosh, but they make me so irritated. Yes, but if you are a Christ follower, God is calling you to do this kind of stuff. Okay, in fact, what we're trying to do is we live out of the example from Jesus. Jesus lived an amazing life, a perfect life, and we're just trying to do and be as close to him as we can. All right, and Jesus, just imagine if Jesus did these things. If Jesus was like angry with us, right? If he was rageful with us. Maybe you've never thought about this before. What if Jesus used filthy language? You ever think about that? Like, what cuss words would he actually say? Right? That's kind of a weird thought. Like Jesus is coming in, bleep, 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 like, whoa, Jesus, stop doing that. That's making me uncomfortable. Right? I mean, here's the deal. Like, he didn't do any of that stuff. Right? And we need to follow his example. In fact, Jesus tells us to do something that is completely countercultural, that goes against what we normally would think about. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 39, Jesus says, this is just to Christians. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn them the other cheek also. All right, now, just want to be clear about this. I'm talking about these cheeks, not these cheeks, all right? Don't worry, listen. We're not going to be like, oh, someone smacks me here, I should turn them this one. No, I'm not talking about those cheeks, all right? He's saying, listen, if someone hurts you, ultimately, instead of hurting them back, just turn them the other one. All right, don't worry about it, okay? Just move on. In fact, if we keep reading in Matthew chapter 5, it says, Jesus says, essentially, love your enemies. And so this is also your family members, your brothers and your sisters. When they hurt you, you don't just hurt them right back, right? Because that's what we're used to doing, right? We're used to essentially playing Jenga with them, taking cheap shots over and over and over again, and then we stack it on top, and next thing you know, it comes crashing down with one big argument with our parents or with our brothers or sisters. And Jesus is telling us, like, if you're a follower of Christ, this is the way that you should live. But here's the good news. Even if you're not a follower of Christ, even if you're still trying to figure out this whole church and Jesus thing, I believe that the next thing I'm going to tell you is going to help you no matter if you follow Jesus or not. All right, it's going to help you. And even if you're a Christian, it's going to help you a ton as well. All right, now, when I was in Chicago, I was in a car with a friend of mine, and we were pulling out of this driveway onto a street, and the friend of mine cut someone off. Okay, and this person that we cut off, like, they were really upset. All right, how many of you have seen road rage? You've seen people, just get really, really intense. Well, this person was like road rage to the max. All right, they literally ran up and got up right next to us, and I'm like being really calm, and I'm trying to be apologetic, and I'm looking at them and sort of like mouthing like, I'm really sorry, like, I'm really sorry. But they were not having it at all. They were just like, just like going after it, yelling at me, being nuts. I'm like, put your hands on the wheel. They're like, oh, I get, they're just really going after me in that time. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is intense. And y'all, it just kept going and going. I mean, this lady was like yelling, like at the top of her lungs at me. There was veins coming out everywhere. It was absolutely intense. And so for a second there, then I basically just stopped looking at her because it was so destructive. I was like, this is not healthy. This is not right. So I'm just looking straight ahead, and I can only see her in my peripheral vision. Okay, but then I decide that, okay, I'm just gonna kind of show her what she looks like. So sort of out of nowhere, as she's yelling at me, I just turn to her and I'm just like, and she like stops immediately. It looks at me like, what was that? And then she just kind of speeds off and goes ahead of me. And I got to thinking, like, what would have happened if, like I pulled over, or, my friend pulled over, and then she pulled over next to us, and then we got out and just started fighting, right? Like, she just started yelling at me, and I'm yelling at her, and it's getting really intense, and everything's, it would just be horrible. Like, it would really mess up my day, wouldn't it? Right? Like, I would be angry for several hours, maybe for the rest of the day, and that's what happens with people when they're angry with each other, especially if they have road rage. All right, but what happened in that moment is she was really angry, and she just kept going and going and going. She would not let it go, right? She just kept getting more and more angry. And I wasn't provoking her. It wasn't like that I kept like taunting her. Like, she just kept going. And the truth was, in that moment, she was actually hurting herself, right? The anger that she allowed to just keep going and going and going. Like, she was making herself have a bad day at that point. Like, I kind of let it go. I could have entered in and gotten upset as well, but I didn't. I just sort of let it go. And that's what I'm trying to get us to right now is what if you just kind of let it go? In fact, where are my two Jenga people? Will you guys come back up here? My two Jenga people? Yeah, come on up here. Give me my two Jenga people. Come on, come up here. Where'd she go? Oh, shoot. All right, give me somebody else. Give me another girl. Okay, come on up. Okay. This will teach you not to skip out on my message. Okay, all right, you just stand right there. All right, so I want you guys to go ahead and start playing again. All right, so, because just imagine this. You're playing Jenga, you know it's crazy that's gonna happen. Actually, in fact, hold on just a second. I just want you to just go take a seat. You don't even have to play. You just go take a seat, go sit down with everybody, and I want you to play by yourself. All right, you can just play by yourself, just try to get it going. Here's what's happening. All right, what's happening is she's got to be really careful. It's going to come crashing down. You're going to have to be really careful, right? When you are, just like I said, when we're angry with each other and we're taking cheap shots and it starts piling up and up and up, destruction is going to happen. But what he just did is by walking away and getting away from the situation, he doesn't have to worry about the destruction, right? Like, he's out of the way of the pain and of the destruction. But she's not, right? She's still there. And eventually what's going to happen is this whole thing is just going to come crashing down. It's just going to go crashing down like that. And she's the only one that's in the way. He's not in the way. She's in the way. Will you guys give it up for her? Come on, round of applause. You can take a seat. You see, when we get out of the way, we're also getting out of the way of destruction. When someone starts arguing with us and we just stop, okay, and we stop arguing with them, all they're doing is hurting themselves. All right, and we can just step away from that. So when your brother or sister or whoever does that, or your parents, you're just hurting yourself. My friend Macy told me this story when she was really, really young. She talked about how her parents wanted her to eat like something disgusting for dinner, and she refused, and it wasn't even that bad. She just was like, had one of those attitude days, and her parents were like, well, you're staying at this dinner table until you finish your food. Y'all, she was so stubborn that she stayed there the entire night. All right, she slept at the dinner table. All right, now, who was going through the pain at that point? Not the parents, right? She could have taken like 2 minutes and eaten whatever it was that she had to eat, but instead, she slept on an uncomfortable table to prove her point. And think about what's happening like at 3 a.m. Okay, she's probably trying to think like, I'll show them. Yeah, but mom and dad are sleeping in a cozy bed. Okay, like you didn't exactly prove your point right then and there, right? Because when we just kind of let it go, when we just go for it, okay, we get out of the way of destruction and out of the way of pain. And I realize many of you are like, yeah, but Matt, you don't understand. Like, my brothers and sisters, they really get on my nerves. Or Matt, you don't get it. Like, my family drama is deeper than that. Right? My family drama is deeper than just picking on each other. Like, my parents fight with each other all the time. Or my parents, they've got a divorce. Or there's something crazy happening with my aunt and uncle, and there's just like destruction happening in our family. Okay, and if that's you, what I'm saying is that you cannot control that situation. right? You can only control you. You can't control them, right? You can't control your brother or sister and make them do something or make your parents do something, right? You can only control you. What I'm trying to say is, you're going to be more healthy, you're going to have a better day if you don't engage in these frustrating, argument, crazy things that are going on in life. And I realize some of you, the situation is so bad that you're just irritated all the time. So when someone says even the slightest thing to you, it just sets you off. You know, like I have a bunch of, I have some like really comfy clothes, like this awesome fleece jacket. I love this fleece jacket. It's one of my favorites. But I also have some clothes that are, quite honestly, are just not very comfortable. Like this is a wool jacket. Someone bought this for me, and I've literally only worn it once. If you've ever worn a wool jacket, you know that it's really itchy, right? It's like kind of irritating and itchy. Even right now, this is uncomfortable. And oftentimes when I'm wearing this, like I'm uncomfortable the whole day, and it's just not great. And what happens is, in our lives, we have things in our lives that make us uncomfortable, right? And as these things are making us uncomfortable, they also make us irritated and make us get hot-tempered, and then we just kind of argue with someone else. So what I'm saying is I realize that you've got things in your life that are making you uncomfortable. But what I'm saying is, we're going to have to figure out a way to sort of get rid of this. In fact, if we look in Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 through 14, it says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, with kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity." If we go back to that first verse, verse 12, it says, clothe yourselves with comfortable things, right? With compassion, with kindness, with gentleness, right? And I'm telling you, your life is going to be better. Okay, regardless of if you're a Christian or not, your life is going to be better if you just stop fighting with your family members so much, and when they start baiting you into something. And if you're having a hard time because you're always irritated with them, you need to pray to the Lord and say, God, help me to clothe myself with something more comfortable. Help me to clothe myself with compassion and kindness and good things, right? That's where we need God's help, because some of you have tried to do this on your own. If you're not a follower of Christ and you're like, I've been having a hard time with this, I don't think it's possible for me to do this with my family. Well, I'm saying it might be impossible with you alone, but when you bring God into the equation, he can do amazing things. He can help transform your life where you're more passionate, you're more kind with your family. Okay, here's the deal. Every family is frustrating, right? Every single one. So focus on changing yourself. Okay, every family is frustrating, so focus on changing yourself, because you can't change them. You can't change your mom or your dad or much of your family situation. You can't change your brother or your sister. Every family is frustrating, but focus on changing yourself. Now, here's what I know that happens oftentimes when I talk about family up here, is that when you guys get to your small groups, it sort of gives you a license to just kind of complain about them. You know, and you just get in your small groups and you're just like, oh, my brother this and my brother that. And da-da-da-da. Nope, zip, up, stop it, okay? Today, I want you to stop it. I don't want you to complain about your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad or whoever or your friends. I don't care who it is, because you can't change them. You can only change yourself. All right, so I want you to talk about what do they need to change, but what do you need to change? Right? Like, what is it in you that needs to change? So if someone else in your small group is getting to that point where they're starting to complain about something, you're like, no, stop it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then they're like, but you don't understand. My dad, no. All right, stop. You're like, yeah. But my brother, he's such a pain. He's just like, ah. And you're like, zippity-doo-da-day. All right? Stop it right now. All right, that's what I want you to do. I want you to call each other out. Help each other so that you're controlled and you recognize that even by complaining about them, you're not changing them, right? You can't change them. You can only change yourselves, right? Stop going into frustrating arguments with your family members where you're taking cheap shots and it builds up to come crashing down, and start clothing yourselves with kindness and humility and compassion. So I want you to be able to talk about this with your small groups today. Here in just a minute, I want to encourage you, if you have anything that you want me to pray with you about, please come up and let me pray with you. It doesn't have to be a family thing. It can be anything. We offer this most weeks, and quite honestly, I stand up here alone, and I want to talk to you guys, all right? So if you've got something, if you just want to come talk to me, if you got prayer, I want you to come up and pray with me, all right? But I want you to go to your small groups. Girls are going to stay in here. Guys are going to go across the hall. Have a great week.